differentiate, though, between secularization, what we see going on, as well as just Western culture
Yeah.
finding its root around it. That's the thing. I think of Leslie Newbegin and how shall the West be converted? I mean, we've talked a lot about that. We've seen this almost syncretism with a lot of Western culture attaching itself to biblical Christianity, creating something entirely new. How do we try to
Yeah.
detach as much as we possibly can and keep the essence of the gospel, what we seed, to continue to proclaim the truth of who Jesus is?
Yeah. So I'm going to argue with you just a little bit here,
Go, let's do
Travis,
it.
because I don't think we're non-cultural people.
Oh,
I
of
think that at
course.
least a part of what Imago Dei points to is the fact, I mean, you and I are speaking the English language.
Yeah,
There's a lot of baggage there.
yeah,
But otherwise, we're not having much of a conversation. And look, we started out talking about the clothes we're wearing, et cetera. The
yeah, yeah,
books
yeah.
behind both of us. So in other words, we're part of an enormous culture, right down to the technology we're using and all the rest. And so the Christianity needs to be transcendent of the culture, but it can never, until the kingdom of Christ is fully realized and Christ claims his church, it can never be as countercultural as some people want to declare it to be. So you take, say, the most glaring example of the cultural syncretism, and we all know it's exactly what we're trying to avoid. It was the German Christians, which Bonhoeffer was pointing to, and I mean the movement known as the German Christians, where it's Germanized Christianity, and of course that ended up being subservient to the Nazi state. The thing I want to point out, though, is that Bonhoeffer and those who were with him in the confessing church, they still spoke German. They still dressed like Germans, and they were actually hearkening back to other German sources, such as Luther. And so all I'm saying is that I want to be really careful, because I think the language that I inherited as a teenager and as a 20-something about countercultural Christianity really owed a lot more to hippie dreams than to biblical theology. So look, Christ is Lord. That's the most revolutionary statement we can make. I think also the truest statement we can make. And I think the difficulty for the church, or the challenge for the church, is understanding that we have to emphasize a Christian culture that is, if anything, thicker than any other culture, and quite frankly, is adaptable. The gospel, thanks be to God, can be spoken in any language. And one of the big, I think, important issues of the church, responsibilities of the church, is to translate the Word of God into as many languages as possible.
Agree.
And right now, with controversy going on with Pope Francis and his latest declaration on the blessing of same-sex couples,
Yeah.
culture makes a difference, because you've got super liberal cardinals in Germany who are already doing this, breaking the rules of the church, and quite frankly, just becoming the apostles of LGBTQ. And then you've got African cardinals and bishops who are stalwartly in opposition. I don't think it's an accident that some of them are in Europe, and it's not to say all Europeans are liberal, but European culture is very liberal. And then the opposition is coming from Africa, in the global South, as it is called. I don't think that's an accident. And each has an explanation about why the other is as they are. And so all I'm saying is, I think we need a very sophisticated understanding of culture. The first book I wrote was entitled Culture Shift, and it was about the massive shift that's come in Western culture. And I think I pretty much still think along the same lines.